I read that you had this line that you cannot be protected from being called an asshole.
Correct.
Okay.
Especially if you're an asshole.
Well, that's but you don't have to be an asshole to be called an asshole.
That's correct.
And I think the internet has taught me that.
Well, the internet has posed a particular challenge to free speech absolutists because of some of the stuff that's on there is god awful. But I have no different rule for freedom of speech on the internet than I have in newspapers or in lectures or in classrooms or conversations among people.
What do you think about the tension between freedom of speech and freedom of reach, as is kind of sometimes termed? So the internet really challenges that aspect. It allows speech to become viral and spread very quickly to a very large number of people.
Yeah. Well, we've had revolutions in the modalities of communication. After all, newspapers were the first challenge. Radio and television posed a new challenge. The FCC tried, but ultimately gave up the attempt to control obscenity, for example. And the Supreme Court has been pretty close. The one thing that liberal and conservative Supreme Courts, right now we're in a conservative era due to Trump nominations. During much of my life, we were the Warren Court. It was William O. Douglas, Brennan. It was the liberal court. One thing they agree on is free speech. They don't agree on much else, but they do agree on free speech. And I think the reason is that they recognize that, well, my group is in the ascendance today, but it may not be tomorrow. And I want to have objective, clear rules so that when I'm in the minority, I'm able to voice my opinion. And so it's one of the few things that both sides of the political spectrum agree on. The only people who don't are the people way over on the right that I call the fascists, and the people way over on the left who are the communists. But with respect to most people on the political spectrum, Republicans, Democrats, socialists, libertarians, they agree on the primacy of free speech because it protects them when protection is needed.
So to you, even on the internet, free speech absolutism should rule.
Yes. Nobody's going to die. Remember, death threats are not protected. Nobody's going to die. So people are going to be a little bit insulted. That's the price you pay for living in a free society. And it's a small price, in my view. Some people don't have as tough a hide as others. Well, then develop it. I don't mean to sound cruel, but you're living in a free society. Develop a tough hide.
So that's the cost of living in a free society.
Yep, there's a cost.
The thing is, it can really hurt at scale to be cyberbullied, to be attacked for the ideas you express, or maybe ideas you didn't express, but that somebody decided to lie about you and use that to attack you.
Well, first of all, there are some exceptions to the First Amendment. Libel and slander is an exception. Direct threats are an exception. If you say such and such, I will murder you, that is not lawful. If you say that somebody, if you say about somebody, you beat your wife, that is not lawful if in fact the person knows you don't beat your wife. There are some limits. Defamation is one, direct threats are another. So it's not absolute. The First Amendment is not absolute, but it's more absolute than it is in any other society, and it's pretty near absolute. For example, fraud. If you sell somebody a car and you say, oh, this is in great running shape, and in fact it's an old jalopy and it's not going to make it more than 10 miles, that's fraud. That's not free speech. So free speech is not absolute. There are these limits, but they're very narrow, specific categories of limits.
But there's gray area here because while legally you're not allowed to defame a person, in the court of public opinion, especially with the aid of anonymity on the internet, rumors can spread at scale. Thousands, hundreds of thousands of people can make up things about you.
You have to defend yourself.
Using more speech.
We're through freedom of speech, and we're big boys and girls. You have to defend yourself. In some societies, if you say something, if you say something nasty about Putin, you'll end up in the gulag. If you say something nasty about Biden, you end up in the New York Times. Where would you rather be?